A group of people disguise themselves as animals, but they get one who is called a legend and escort him to a dry canyon, saying to themselves that given that he's a legend, they would gain much clout from seeing his humiliation. So they call this man and have him come with his legendary boat and his legendary fishing rod, and they call upon him. And they say, there is a great fish that we need you to catch for us. This is of course before they disguise themselves as animals. This man, being generous, accepts their request and goes along with them. So as they go to the dry canyon, the man says, "Why have you brought me here? This is a dry canyon." And all the men leave food and victuals that he may live long enough to see his humiliation, and they run away from him as they disguise themselves as animals to observe what choices he will make. So this man begins to walk on his journey, frustrated that he will have to cross the other side of the canyon to head all the way back home. And as he begins, a rock slide slowly emerges. Yet the people disguised as animals were ready to save him, but he cried like a little baby. But that is what they were waiting for, to record it and to share it to everyone. Yet to their surprise, the man hops on the boat and quietly closes his eyes, hoping that things will turn out well. And the rock slide goes under the boat rather than over it. And the boat looks magnificent as it slides all the way down the rock slide to the ground. And as they thought this would diminish his legend, this action only added to it, and they were frustrated, wailing and gnashing their teeth, saying to themselves, "We will have this man humiliated, but let us try not to kill him. Instead, we will rescue him as he cries like a little baby." So they leave again, observing what he will do. And as he walks in his journey, having the rock slide guide him halfway, or nearly halfway, quarter away of the journey, he encounters hyenas approaching one after the other. The man, being fearful, flips the boat upside down and begins to slowly drag it. The hyenas scratched and laughed and growled. I'm not sure if growled is a real word, but scratched and laughed and scratched and laughed, and their laughter became irritation, but they could not pierce the boat. And the boat had scratch marks, making it look even more legendary. For all the efforts that the people had to diminish his legend only added to it. Judean makes it halfway across the canyon, with many days passing obviously, and as he does so, he begins to slowly run out of food. So they witness and they say, yes, when he runs out of food, he will cry like a child, and we will come and get him out and record him as the little baby he is. But Judean, in that journey, as he is walking with his boat, only takes 10 sips of water and 10 small bites. 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 And he loses weight, becoming thinner and more flexible, Of course, this didn't take much time, but it felt as though it did. And all the people who witnessed this were even more angry at him, for they were willing to diminish his legend, yet only added to it. The man making it past halfway and a quarter, the people themselves say, you know what, let us throw breadcrumbs at him, that the birds will come and pluck out of him. Let us throw paws of water, that he will be soaking wet and will remain distracted. So they did so. And as they threw many breadcrumbs, and as they spilled much water, the water, this man yet being in the canyon where it is hot, rejuvenates him. And not only that, he stores much of it in bottles, giving him something to drink. And as the crumbs come, and the birds, many birds, come to bite off the crumbs, he uses his hook and hunts them all down as his food. So now he makes it past halfway and almost to his end with more food and more water than he had before. And the people, disguised as animals, were frustrated, for in their efforts to diminish his legend, only added to it. Then, as he approaches near the end, he comes across a dead end, and all the people dressed as animals say to themselves, let us just beat him up, that when he cries like a baby, then we'll call a different group of people to rescue him, and we will record it, and much will be the fame that we will have from this information. So, Judean, meeting a dead end, comes across many people who of course were disguised as animals, and they all drew closer to him. Judean wondering, how are animals this huge? Something tells me these are people. Something tells me these are the people who have been trying to sabotage me. So the man grabs his fishing hook and raises it up and up, and everyone watches surprisingly. And the rocks support him as the rocks begin to pull with their hands the fishing rod all the way up to the top of the canyon, making his way out that he may go home. And his boat being at the bottom and him being on it. So the people go up trying to beat him up, and Judean starts climbing and climbs really high, and the people who are disguised as birds climbed up high, but of course they had no wings, for they were not birds, fell all the way down to the ground, caught by the others. The man laughs and continues upwards. Again, other men disguised as mountain climbing animals march, trying to catch him. But of course they too fall off, for they do not have 4 legs and are not fit for the mountains. Of course, they are canyon hills, but to themselves, they assumed that they would climb as high as mountains, and they too fall as well. And other men just as beasts climb and climb and climb again. Judean, laughing previously at the others who fell, for they were people and they were not the animals they showed themselves to be, continues climbing, and the others as well who appeared, yet appearing much in their ferociousness, in their intensity, hoping that they would scare Judean into letting go of the fishing rod. Yet the man continues climbing. Yes. And because they couldn't reach all the way up and lost air, they fell down and were caught by the other people. The man laughs and continues climbing. So the people then decide to gather his boat and plan to clamp him, trapping him that he doesn't escape, and to overpower him. So they lean on each other and climb and climb and climb and climb, leaning one up on the other with the boat, clamping him. Yet Judean, the man, decides to loosen his grip and to go downwards where the boat is. And as those people were going, and as he was going down, they were excited, thinking that he had lost hope. So they went upwards to clamp him, to trap him. Yet as they were going up and up and up, they caught him. But they knew not that they caught him in the boat. So they kept lifting it, and lifting it, and lifting it, and lifting it, until they reached the top. And the man gets off the boat and pulls the boat off the top of the canyon. And all the people say to themselves, "What? He was here all along. Why didn't we trap him when we had the chance?" And they all fall upon themselves. Of course, the rocks decided to spare their lives because the man asked of them to do so. So they caught the people, making sure they do not fall to their death. The man, of course, sits back on his boat, and the rocks pilot him home. The man being Judean the beggar. And now I have a question for you. Why do you think I told you this story?